write down like the instructions, although you can if you want to keep them, or you can just print out the slides if you would like. But what I want you to do is go through and I'm gonna go through and talk about certain activities that you can do to make your organization better, using certain principles of organization that are really important to make good writing. So the first organizing principle is the idea of paragraphing by theme. So a paragraph is a single chunk of your argument that has a single thematic link. So basically, each paragraph should be about one thing and one thing only. Okay? And then when you start talking about something else, you want to start a new paragraph. Now, this might seem really obvious to some of you, but as when I was a writing student, I didn't really understand when to start a new paragraph, because I had only been taught the 5-paragraph essay where, each of your paragraphs are on a different topic. And so when you're talking about the same topic throughout, like, when do you start a new paragraph? And it's just a matter of figuring out what's the thematic link of each paragraph. So what I want you to do is go through your paper that you have so far and just assign keywords to each paragraph. Okay? That's all I want you to do for now. And as you add in more paragraphs, you might want to consider the keyword for that new paragraph as you bring it in. So basically, you'll assign each paragraph a keyword, a word or a short phrase, 2 or 3 words maximum, I would say, that describe basically what this paragraph's about. And I say three words maximum. It can be more than that, if that's what works for you. Honestly, I hate, putting limitations. Just you do what works for you. But, what is each paragraph about? I don't want you to write like a full sentence necessarily, but just like a phrase that says, here's what this paragraph is about. And try to be specific, but also, encompassing everything in that paragraph. Now, if you're having trouble figuring out what this paragraph's about, it could be that paragraph is about too many things at once. So you can sort of figure out, like, okay, well, maybe there's 2 things that this paragraph's about, and then separate it into 2 paragraphs based on that determination. Or maybe this paragraph's about 3 things, and you need to not only, separate it into 3 paragraphs, but maybe like develop each thing a little more, which also helps you gain length. So, not too bad a thing to find if you find that. But yeah, so just, that's basically this activity. So, you can either do that now, pause the video and go do that, or you can, wait until the end and go back and do the activity. It's entirely up to you, but just, follow along with me. Okay. The next activity has to do with big paragraphs. So I know that I have a tendency to write really, really long paragraphs. I would say that a big paragraph would be 3/4 of a page or longer. So if it's 3/4 of a page or longer, that's a big paragraph that you probably need to break up a little bit. So, you can do one of 2 things. Either assign that paragraph 2 keywords and, have that be, and like separate the information out based on which fit which information fits best with which keyword, and then you've got your paragraph break. Usually you'll find that the stuff at the beginning of the paragraph is about one thing and the stuff at the end of the paragraph is about something different. And in that case, you can just separate there. But the other option is to find a transition word that shows a change in direction. So like, however, or, additionally, or, something like that. That shows a shift in direction, and just cut the paragraph at that transition word and then add in maybe a better transition to the new paragraph than just that. Something that connects that with the old paragraph and gives a topic sentence to the new. So those are a couple supplemental activities if you find that you're the kind of person who has big paragraphs. That won't be for everybody, but the next organizing principle is the idea of crescendo. So many people have learned the 5-paragraph essay format. They just put point A next to point B next to point C, and it really doesn't matter what sort of order they're in, because they're completely different topics, and so they're completely different arguments for the same outcome, basically. That's my biggest problem with the 5-paragraph essay. So what you want to do is, the idea of crescendo comes from music. So when something gets louder, it crescendos. So you want to start with the basics and then build and build and build and build off of that. Okay? So that basically your points have to be connected to each other, so that you're not just switching topics each time. You're actually using your next point to build off what you said in your last point. Okay? So that's a big, very, very common issue that I see in papers, especially longer papers. So it's something to be aware of and something to sort of work on. If you can rearrange your paragraphs without changing any, without, it changing the effect or the meaning, then maybe you're not building so much as just adding on. So, something to keep in mind. The next organizing principle is the idea of proximity. So you want to have paragraphs with closely connected themes to be next to each other in close proximity. So if this paragraph is about something similar to this paragraph, you want them to be together in your paper. So that your argument is more easy to follow. It makes transitioning easier, because if they're similar points, then obviously, you're not going to need as much of a transition between them. So, my recommendation for an activity to do this is to use your keywords that I had you assign each of your paragraphs a keyword. Use those keywords and use them to arrange your paragraph. So you look at all of your, sort of keywords or key phrases, and you sort of determine, like, you create an outline using those keywords and phrases. Does that make sense? So, like, once you've determined what each paragraph's about at its core, then it helps you to outline it and rearrange it later. So you create an outline that makes the most sense using your keywords. Okay. I like to use Post-it notes, because then I can sort of just like switch things around, see how they look, or, like maybe not that, or maybe I want to put this up here. It helps me to rearrange them a little bit more easily. Whereas if you're writing out an outline, sometimes you have to like cross things out or move things around, and that can be a little more difficult. So I just like to use Post-its, just my tip of the day for you. So And then once you've got your outline, then you rearrange your paragraphs, and then you want to also, just read through and make sure that it actually does work, and maybe make some rearrangements if it doesn't. The next organizing principle is the idea of transitioning. So once you've got your paragraphs in the order that you want them in, you want to be able to transition smoothly from one paragraph to the next. So each new paragraph shouldn't just add on a new topic to your paper. Okay, so you want to avoid, the transitions that just add things on, like additionally, also, this, but also this is what I usually call it. So people like to use transitions that are what I call but also transitions, this, but also this. And it doesn't really make the connection between those two ideas. It actually implies that there is not really a connection, that we're just going in a different direction now. And so you want to avoid that with your transitioning. So it's important to understand connections between your paragraphs in order to create what we call cohesion, which is making a whole rather than just a series of parts. And you want your reader to be able to understand that connection, and that's where transitions come in. So again, you can use your keywords here, and you can use those keywords to create a transition sentence. So if you came up with a longer phrase, this is the time where you might want to shorten it. Basically, just you use the keyword from your previous paragraph and your keyword from your current paragraph, and you use them both in a sentence that shows how they are connected. Because these keywords represent the main ideas from each of these paragraphs, you can create a transition by using those keywords in the same sentence. Okay? So not only does that create a transition sentence that shows how we are getting from the last point to this new point, it also creates a topic sentence for your current paragraph. So saying what this paragraph is about and how it relates to the last paragraph. And you just use that sentence as the first sentence in your current paragraph. Okay? Trust me, people have been like, oh my gosh, this totally works. This totally makes this so much easier. And it really does just help. And so I really, really, really want you to use this one. If you don't use any of the others, use this one, okay? You want to make sure that sentence connects both ideas clearly within the context of your argument. But other than that, just use both keywords and you'll be able to make that transition, okay? The next organizing principle is the idea of logical connections, which is kind of at the heart of organizing. You just want for the connections you're making to be logical, okay? And so it can be a little more intuitive. The activities that I'm asking you to do kind of break you out of that intuitive process and make it into more of a structured process. But often it is just an act of intuition. And so if if the activities that we've done so far don't work for you, I highly, 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 highly recommend that you use this activity. So just basically print out your paper, okay, and cut it up into sections. So I would suggest paragraphs, but it can also work with sentences within a paragraph. But yeah, so it's just cut out each paragraph, and you might have to like tape two together if the same paragraph's on two different pages. But just, print it all off, cut it into paragraphs, and then just shuffle them up and rearrange them. Okay. Sometimes that gets you out of that sort of like funk of, well, after this I talk about this. That's just how it is. It gets you out of that and sort of helps you to see it in a new perspective, because you can, and I do recommend, as you're cutting them up, to like label which paragraph it is, even though you're going to rearrange them. Just somewhere inconspicuous where you're not going to pay attention to it. But then, going through and sort of rearranging them, and then going back to your paper and rearranging them how you rearranged your hard copy. And basically just read through it all, make corrections to the transitions in the way that I told you earlier, and you should be good. It might also help if you write the keywords on each paragraph as you go. That way, you can sort of, it'll save you time in the process of, sort of looking things over. But yeah, so that's basically it. So that's all I have for you. Let me know if you have any trouble with any of these activities, or you need any more clarification or anything like that, and I will be happy to help you. So I will see you all in class, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.